welcome to another episode of the Sales Syndicate podcast. This week is our first three-way podcast, would you believe it or not? So I think we're popping the three-way cherry this week. I'm going to hand straight over to Jack and Zac to introduce themselves and the company as well. So I don't know who usually leads.
It's Jack.
Well, that's all. You both jumped
we
in.
hold hands and we walk together, step in step. Is it your first three-way, Jamie? Okay, podcast, good.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, brave answer. Wow. Okay, here we go. This is going to be a good podcast. My name's Jack, and I'm a co-director of a company called We Have a Meeting, and we specialize in helping clients get in front of the right people at the right time. So think prospecting, appointment setting, lead generation, glorified door opening, call it what you will. We solve that problem. I'm going to bat over to Zac, who's my best friend and also my business partner. What would you like to say, Zac?
We're typically the sort of business that you shouldn't be using. You should be able to do all this in-house. You should have a sales team who are motivated, overpaid, on copious amounts of cocaine, and they should be able to deliver this themselves. But if you can't, and salespeople are annoying you and you're on a dream road to sobriety, you might want to use us to outsource your stress.
So this is a great market for you right now, isn't it?
The cocaine market.
Well, that's another episode altogether, that is. No, but in terms of companies looking to outsource because they're struggling, right?
Yeah, I think the pandemic presented an interesting conundrum for businesses where they'd probably had these set of glorified, especially in the B2B space, like glorified account managers who were taking their set of accounts from one job to another. And then, I can't take them out to the strip clubs once a quarter anymore and get them to renew their account with us. So now what do I do? And it quickly outlined who was a good salesperson, who was a bad one. And since then, we've noticed a bit of a trend of people even starting businesses just I never want to have a sales team. I just want to outsource this altogether. So, yeah. And even if you have a sales team, they tend not to want to do any prospecting. They just want to sit meetings and drive around in the company BMW, don't they?
No, that is very, very true. I'd say there was the other side of our business is recruitment, and I think there was this trend where basically if you were in recruitment for sort of less than 3 years, you had never actually done any BD because peak COVID, it was just purely candidate sourcing, just companies coming to you saying we've got tons of roles we need to fill, got loads of money, can you fill them? And you had recruiters that had never done a day of BD in their life. And now, obviously, post-COVID, it was the exact opposite. And I think that was got to be one of the highest turnover industries along with sales post-COVID. So, yeah, it's been a particularly interesting period. But I think, on that topic, we're going to be talking about how to open cold calls in unconventional ways. Because I think there is this, this unwritten or unsaid sort of thing at the moment, rumor, whatever you want to call it, that cold calling's dead. And we ourselves are firm believers that is absolute rubbish. It's bad. Cold calling is dead. Good calling is still very much alive. And I think you guys are probably trendsetters in that respect. So we're going to be talking about how to open cold calls in unconventional ways, and these are probably unconventional and then another few miles past unconventional, based on what I've seen on your channels, and also a couple of our SDRs read, follow, watch all of your stuff, and they've been actually using some of them the past few weeks as well. So I think this is going to be a good one. But you guys have sort of broken it down into, I think, like 5 key, I would call them either like ICPs or 5 key like decision maker personas, profiles, whatever you want to call them, and we're going to run through each of those, and perhaps we can share some great examples. I don't know if you two want to pretend you're cold calling each other or whatever. However,
we don't
you
need
two
to
guys
pretend. I've got a phone and I've got his number.
Why are you showing me that you've got a phone?
I'm sure you two love a bit of role play, so we'll see how it goes.
Back to the 3 conversation.
Yeah, it's a shame we're not doing it in the same room, really, isn't it? But
oh, no.
Maybe a future episode.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you, before we go into those 5 like key personas, do you guys want to maybe just give us a bit of an intro, because you guys are fairly big on LinkedIn for these like live cold calls you do, don't you? Like these unconventional things. Do you want to just give us a bit of a rundown of that sort of strategy for you, or that sort of ethos?
Yeah. So I'll let you add your point in a minute, Jack, but I think this one was for me. I think that as great as sales tech is, if I was a young graduate given a sales job and I've got a menu of things that I can choose from, picking up the phone and speaking to a stranger is going to become the very last thing I do. I will be a professional procrastinator writing out clever, personalized emails that might never go anywhere until kingdom come. But if I had a list of 100 people who fit my company's ICP and I need to qualify in, qualify out, the phone is by far the most effective way of doing that. The thing to wrestle with is, are you comfortable with rejection, which most people aren't? You know, there's a feeling of, Jack talks about this quite a lot, of I'm going to die.
Rejection, or
he talks about rejection a lot.
I had lots of rejection in my life, Jamie.
Yeah, and there's a feeling of validation as well. So I love, my mother didn't love me enough, and I carry it around now as a young man or woman, or they or them. And by not having that validation on the phone every day, I'll quickly emotionally burn out. So the phone can be quite a scary thing, because it's going to make you confront all those skeletons in the closet. Jack, what would you add to that?
I think it's an interesting one, Jimmy. When you said cold calling is dead, we had a sales enthusiast, if I can call him that, on the podcast, and I'm going to quote it wrong. And being honest, I don't really care. But I think he said something like, the first time somebody said cold calling is dead was in the 1920s or something like that. Do you know the exact year, Zach?
Yeah. I don't know the exact year.
I thought you were going to really show me up there. But it's something like that. And then 100 years later, people are still saying it. But like before the phone, cold calling was a thing. You turn up somewhere and cold call. Obviously, you've got to think now about, okay, I want to speak to the CEO of this company. They've got 5,000 employees. They've got 101 different decisions to make on a daily basis. How many emails do you think they receive? Could be hundreds, could be thousands. How many cold calls do you think that they receive? You'd be very surprised. Sometimes when we speak to CEOs or decision makers, they're like, oh, I never get cold calls. And why is that? Because a lot of people aren't taught the right way to do it. And if you're not taught the right way to do it, if you don't have a structure in place, you're probably not going to have the evidence that it works or the confidence to do it. So why are you going to start practicing? When you start cold calling, you're meant to be rubbish. The same way when you start riding a bike, you're meant to really, really suck at it. You're meant to fail. But only by doing and practicing and going away and getting marginally better is the way that you can improve. So yeah, I agree with Zach. So many people would say, I'm not going to cold call, because why would you when you could send an email or a LinkedIn? I think they're probably the weapons of choice in today's climate.
It made me thought, right? So I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm 30. So when I was a kid, we still had phones in the home, right? As in you had a landline number and you knew all your mates' number. I could reel off one of my best mates' phone numbers now, and I haven't called him in 15 years. And I think even I, towards the, my teen years or whatever, I hated answering the phone. It was like, oh no, my parents will answer the phone. But nowadays there pretty much isn't landline phones in the household. And it's almost as if kids have lost that innate ability to answer a phone in their home. I know people have got mobiles, but it's WhatsApp, it's Snapchat, it's Instagram. And it's almost as if they completely lost that natural rite of passage of having to answer the phone for your parents. And I definitely think that seems to have really affected, like you said, the confidence of people actually be, well, no, I can't call someone. That's just rude, isn't it? I can call them. I've never spoken to them before. I can't call them. And I think it's mad to see it in some of the fresh out of uni SDRs that are starting nowadays.
The other, we do sales training. A lot of the time it's for younger people, or we get invited into businesses that have quite a young sales team. And when you ask them at the start, how many of you wanted to actually get in sales, and you think back to the playground, how many of you wanted to be in sales, how many hands do you think go up?
one in 50.
There's usually some smart twat who puts his hand up and says, yeah, I always wanted to be in it, and he didn't. But yeah, no one wanted to be in it either. So you're not only doing something that makes you uncomfortable, but probably in a job you didn't want to do anyway.
And a job you're probably ashamed to say. Like I did a LinkedIn post on it earlier, but like you shouldn't be ashamed to say I work in sales. Everybody's if you get chatting to somebody at a barbecue and they're like they work in sales, they're probably like, yeah, I'm a customer centric account manager for EMEA. All right, what are you? I'm an SDR. Just say I work in sales. There's no shame in it. But what we've done with sales and sales roles, when you think about the first things that come to mind, you think shyster, you think scumbag, you think somebody's going to con you, you think kind of snake oil salesman, all of these things. Whereas that's what we're trying to change, that it can be a no pressure, therapeutic, consultative approach. So that's what
it's interesting you say that, because like you said, it's that there is actually a psychological word for it apparently, where you have these. If someone said to you the word kitchen, you immediately have an image of what a kitchen looks like in your head. There's a psychological word for it, but it's the same for sales. You think car salesman, don't you? That's where your head goes straight away, is like car salesman or PVC salesman, PVC windows. And I think if you spoke to some of the sales reps earning 120k a year as a enterprise AE or whatever, you'd probably walk out the room thinking, fucking hell, I should have chosen sales. And it's a strange one, isn't it? It is a strange one.
It's not like marketing, Jamie, where you're proud to say it around the Christmas dinner table. I'm sure your family are very proud of you, unlike our families.
See, you say this, but everyone still says the same old joke, which is, oh, you colour in, right? You just do colouring and that's it, right?
It's just podcasts all day, actually.
Honestly, my partner works in the same office, and I said, so I've got to shoot. I've got to film a podcast, and she was like, fucking hell, go and bill something, will you? It is quite funny. It is quite funny. But look, we touched on those big scary CEOs, which funnily enough is the first persona or sort of key decision maker that we've got on the list in terms of unconventional call opening. So I don't know how you guys want to handle this. Do you want to do one unconventional opening each? I don't know if you've got
variations how even we both deliver the CEO one. But yeah, let's do a role play. Why don't we? I like the idea of that. Jack, would you like to be big bad CEO, and I will call you?
I would love nothing more than to be a big bad CEO, Wolf.
Okay.
That is kind of what you are, right?
Oh, he is.
CEO or a big bad wolf.
Well, either. I mean, you're co-directors, founders, aren't you?
Yeah, but CEO is a different thing. That it does grind my gears a bit when you see somebody that's a CEO of a 2-person company. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Have you got a COO? Have you got a CTO? No. So you're a managing director or a boss.
You're a C bro.
That's what yeah, C pro. Okay, I'm going to answer the phone, Zach. You ready for it?
Okay, I'm ready.
Hello, Jack speaking.
Hello, is that Jack?
Speaking.
Jack, I'll be completely honest. You're probably going to hate me for this. It's actually a sales call. So you can hang up now or you can let me have 30 seconds. It's completely up to you.
What's it about?
It's about a 3-way.
He's sold.
He's sold.
I mean, talk me
now,
through
Jack
it.
delivers that slightly differently. So should we swap roles, Jack?
Mm-hmm. It's my favourite. It's my favourite pattern interrupt. When you say slightly differently, just for any, sorry, I don't want to get too.
You're breaking the fourth wall. Go on.
Yeah, but for anyone listening, what things they should be listening out for, or should we do that bit after?
We'll do that bit after, because I think you know what you do differently, and I think you need to start being bloody proud of yourself, because you're trying hard, and the people that listen to this are going to be proud of you.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Hello, Zach speaking.
Hello, Zach. I'm going to be very honest with you, because I'm sure you get a lot of calls like this. It is a sales call, so I don't know if that makes you want to slam the phone against the wall or let me have 30 seconds. It's completely up to you.
What's it about?
A 3-way. No, I'm not doing this all day.
And again.
Yeah, so I Okay, let's use you, Jamie, because the listeners can't answer yet. They might be talking to themselves, and I'd say you're bloody crazy. But what might you have taken as different between what me and Zach did?
I think the key difference for me was the slam your phone against a wall piece, which is, funnily enough, actually one that our SDR has been using the last couple of weeks, and no one has hung up on him yet. So it works, guys. And he got that from you guys. So I think yours was perhaps slightly more direct but genuine in its delivery.
So there's three things for the pattern interrupt. This is a pattern interrupt that's been around a long time. We can probably say that we're responsible for variations. That doesn't mean it's never been used, but it is something that's kind of been their permission-based openers. They go back as far as kind of Sandler. You're really looking for three things with a pattern interrupt, and that's to the main overarching thing that you want to achieve is to disarm the inner chimp. Okay, so Zach phrase, what am I trying to say? Zach coined this phrase, and I absolutely love it, so I've ran with it. It's called the inner gatekeeper. So Jamie, what does a gatekeeper do? What is a gatekeeper responsible for?
Making a decision on whether or not they're going to put the call through to someone.
Yeah, so they're there to put the right call through and get rid of the wrong call. So what do you think the inner gatekeeper's job is to do? The inner gatekeeper's job is doing?
Just, am I going to hear these guys out or not?
Absolutely. So it's similar to Charlie and the Chocolate. I'm having a mouthful today. I told you, Jamie, I've not had a lunch break. It's similar to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You know, where the old school one, not the Johnny Depp version, where Veruca Salt stands on the eggometer and it works out whether it's a good egg or a bad egg. That's all it's doing. So what you want to do is disarm the inner gatekeeper, and you do that using three things. So that's humor, honesty, and the option to say no. Okay, so allowing room for that person to say no. So your job is just to break down that first segment, just to get that permission, and then you're into a whole other world. So saying like the humor part is drop kick your phone or slam your phone against the wall. If I ring someone and I know they're driving, throw their phone out the window. All we're looking for is any opportunity that we can bring a little bit of humor into the situation, because even CEOs have senses of humor. I know you might find it hard to believe, but it is true. Zach, anything to add on that?
No, I think that's the good. One of the only, it's a slight, I don't want to put people off, because when we first hire people, sometimes this puts people off. If you can do a quick cold read of the way someone answers the phone, you want to mirror back the way they're answering the phone. People can get carried away and this can frustrate them even more. But if I answer the phone and say, Zach speaking, like that, you almost want to hit me the same way. You can't kill me with kindness and I'm upbeat, BBC presenter off my nut type approach. If I'm down, it's Zach speaking, you hit me with the same thing. Zach, I'll be honest, it's actually, if I'm whispering, you're whispering. If I'm answering upbeat, you're upbeat. You want to deliver it to match the way I am. And people tend to like people that are a bit like them, not someone who's trying to just overpower them with positive Grant Cardone crap.
Interesting. So if you've got someone who answers the phone extremely upbeat and confident, and then you answer that with, hello, this is Jamie speaking, they're just going to think, oh, fucking hell, not another one.
It just creates that weird bit of subconscious friction. People's favourite, well, I'll ask you, Jamie, what's someone's favourite subject?
Well, talking about themselves, isn't it?
Exactly. So it's always themselves. So their biases are always built around themselves and protecting themselves. So there's typically something that happens called a halo effect. So if you met a stranger at a party and they came up and they spoke like you, seemed like you, shared at least one similar interest in the first 5 minutes of conversation, the halo effect is you'd be thinking, that guy's great. He's so sound. Have you met that guy? He's so great. And that's literally what you're trying to do in that first 30 seconds of a cold call. Just show, look, I sound like you. I'm just like you.
So is that how you two met? Or are you childhood friends?
We're childhood friends, so we didn't meet in that way. And, you know.
Do you think we're similar? Or were we similar at the age of 15? What brought us together?
great question. What do you think?
I love the way that you
answering
asked
a question with a question. Oh,
And I was going to reverse it again, Jamie, before you interrupted, but it's fine. I'll answer. I don't know. I think we're both a bit wacky, a bit lost, and a little bit looking for love. And hey, here we are, cold calling strangers together.
We're not looking for love.
No, but I meant at the time we were.
What, when we were 15?
What were we looking for then? A GCSE in drama, maybe.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
3 were.
all right then. So that on the topic of big scary CEOs, then. So that's the unconventional opening. Do you want to cover another one for that, or move on to the next one and we just pick up another unconventional opening?
It depends a bit on what you're selling. You said you've got a recruitment business, right?
Yeah, the other side of the business is recruitment. Yeah.
The other side of the business is recruitment. So recruitment, and let me think of another one. Recruitment, a lot of like IT outsourcing. You've got to think of the calls where people tend to get a lot more of them. So if I'm ringing a CEO with the novelty of it's a cold call and they find out it's a recruitment call, it typically gets a phone slammed. But if I ring up and I'm just honest from the start about what it's about, that can work quite well as well. So let's say I'm pitching recruitment. Jack, do you want to answer?
Yes. Hello, Jack speaking.
Jack, I'll be upfront. If I said this was about recruitment, would you want to have me tracked down and shot?
No, not necessarily. Go on.
So that's one way it can go. The other way it can go is...
Hello, Jack speaking.
Hello, Jack. I'll be completely honest with you. It's actually a call about recruitment. So I don't know if you want to have my ancestors tracked down and set on fire for your viewing pleasure.
Probably. I get 100 calls like this a day.
Okay, that must be frustrating. Why do you think that is?
Because I'm the CEO of a really sick company and they think that they can all send me their recruiting solutions.
Recruiters are annoying. Look, if I could be different in 30 seconds and you believed I could, would it be worth hearing me out and seeing what I've got to say, and then you can decide if we keep talking?
I'd give you 30 seconds.
Wow. So that's typically, I guess, it also works quite well with commodity items that aren't particularly sexy. But yeah, that's like your good recruitment opener.
Well, I'd say, because on your point about commodity there, that's actually one of the other ones on our list. So that's a nice little entry point to that one. So the item that we've written down is obvious, mundane products or commodity-based products. So let's do the same again then. So we'll do two unconventional openings,
Okay.
slightly different.
Let me be selling electric vehicle charging points, which wouldn't make sense for me to give you 3 problems. Like, do you have electric cars in your business that you struggle to do? The guy's going to go, this is about EV charging. Why are you trying to dress it up? So let's do that as an opener. Jack, do you want to go first?
Yes,
you want
me to answer?
Yes, please. Sorry, I was confusing with my delivery there.
Hello, Jack speaking.
Jack, if I said I was ringing to put an electric vehicle charging point into your car park, would it shock you?
No, it probably wouldn't shock me.
Pardon the pun.
Pardon the pun. Yeah, exactly. So just hitting it straight out of the gate, EV charging point, solar panels. What else, Jack? What else comes up with that sort of stuff that we just like hit it straight out of the gate with what we're doing?
Well, one of my favourites was, and I've spoke about this on our podcast before, but I think Jamie will enjoy it. I used a pattern interrupt once that didn't work, and this is the whole game: is you try different things, and some work and some don't. So, Jamie, I want you to be the person I'm going to call up. Okay, so you run a small business, you run a nice business, and you just say hello, and I'll call you.
Oof, no pressure. Hello, Jamie speaking.
Hi, Jamie. I'm going to be really honest with you. I've got some bad news. Okay.
Yeah. Go on.
I've just typed into Google what your company does, and you're not on the first, you're not on the second, or you're not on the third page.
Fantastic.
You can imagine that went down like a lead balloon, ringing people up and saying, I've got some bad news. Is it about Barbara? No, it's not about Barbara. It's about SEO. Sorry. But it's thinking outside of the box. I think when we're getting into unconventional openers, that there is no, I've been playing with this one as well recently, and I think it'd be good in like, there's a couple of different campaigns. But if I said to you, Jamie, I'll be honest, it's a sales call. 2 CEOs have told me to fuck off today. Would you like to be the third or let me have 30 seconds? You might get a laugh.
I'd let you have 30 seconds. I like that one.
Yeah. So not everyone. So you've got to be thinking on your feet. I think when we're thinking about unconventional openers, just want to fast forward a little bit. So typically, you get your 30 seconds. Brilliant. You've got your permission. Once you've got that permission, you'll give them a bit of a pitch, and then typically we kind of we go towards the negative bias. So we say something like, you're probably going to tell me none of those problems exist in your world. So what you've got to think about is all of the objections that are ready to come your way, and you want to get them out in the opening. So in recruitment, what might be one of the biggest objections somebody would say about recruitment?
It's fine. We'll handle it in-house.
Yeah. So I'd say we solve these kind of problems. But Jamie, I've got a feeling this is the part where you tell me everything's running perfectly. You're doing it all in-house. And even if I told you I had the perfect candidate, it probably wouldn't even be worth exploring. What do you think your natural response might be?
Well, you've said perfect candidate, so I'd probably listen to that.
Yeah. So there's a bit in there, especially when it comes to like openers and non-conventional stuff. You've got to think. I think like it really boils down to what you're selling and what it is. Like the classic, it's a sales call. You can have 30 seconds, or you can hang up or let me have 30 seconds. That's the classic. People are using it all over the world, and it still works. We've had campaigns before where we've used it. Someone said, "No, I don't want a sales call. I'm not interested." Blah blah blah. And then if we've spoken to the person a couple of weeks later, it's worked. So it's like, especially depending on when you get people, what time of day, what's happened. You've got to remember that people have got lives, and someone's cat might have just been run over or whatever. Like that's the way that we're not dealing with logical human beings. We're dealing with an emotional chimp in that moment.
I'd say as well, if anyone's listening who targets the States, doesn't work as well in America. That opener, you have to change the wording. The American side of things, the data is a bit of a wild west, so they get lots and lots of sales calls. So the word sales is a bit more triggering out there. Have had some success with it, but I find that changing it slightly and saying, look, Jack, I'll be honest, we don't know each other, but would it make sense to give me 30 seconds? I'll tell you why I called, and you can decide if we keep talking. So just skipping the sales part and working around it. As soon as they hear sales, it's like, oh, you're selling me. I think in the States, they have people ringing, cold calling you to try and like sell your house when it's not on the market, and sell you like used cars and stuff when you're not even on the market. And so it's like crazy world of selling out there. So be mindful of that.
Now, you've mentioned a couple of times like the inner chimp. Are you sort of referring to like the Chimp Paradox?
Yeah, exactly.
Book, right? Yeah. Yeah, and I read it at the start of the year. So yeah, I clocked that. And like, I mean, the only thing I didn't like about the book is they talk a lot about planets and carrots, and there's a lot of different metaphors in there. So you have to. It's not worth reading if you're tired, because you're not gonna keep on track with the book. But yeah, definitely go and read the book. Okay, then. So one of the other ones we got on the list is if you're sort of operating an account-based approach, i.e. here's your 40 dream companies, unconventional ways in which you could sort of tackle that. So over to you guys.
Do you want to do this one, Jack, or?
You take it for account-based.
Okay. Cool. You want to answer?
Hello, Jack speaking.
Oh, Jack, bit of a weird one. I actually don't even know if you're going to be able to help me, but I thought I'd pick up the phone and be brave.
Go on.
Well, you're actually on a list of dream companies we've always wanted to work with. I'll be honest, I'm not even sure if it's relevant how I start the process, but as I said, I thought I'd pick up the phone, be brave, and find out for myself.
Well, what is it that you do?
And there we go. That's the response. Once it's a what is it that we do, what is it that you do, that is the permission that you're looking for in the do you want to give me 30 seconds or hang up? That's just a different style of they say, well, what is it that you do? Well, I'll sum it up really quick. If it's not relevant for you, I won't bother you again. But there's a bit in there of human beings tend to want to help unless they're sociopaths. They tend to be wired to help other human beings. So the word help can trigger a certain part of the brain and certainly bring in that human side. And then you're on a list of dream companies we've always wanted to work with. There's a bit of an ego massage there. And then the going for no part in the chimp matrix is the I don't even know if this is going to be relevant. So it's not me forcing anything down and saying, let me tell you about it. It's me almost pulling away and saying, I don't even know if this is going to be relevant. So Jack's inclination there, almost without realizing it, is, well, tell me what it's about. So that's my invite in to keep talking. But it works really well for account-based because someone might throw back, well, why us? Why have you picked us? What you have to make the next part seem like you really do work in that space and sector. Otherwise, people will sniff it out.
Interesting. So, Jack, do you have a different tact or different opening you would usually go for?
We've been similar to, it's very similar. We've been doing a follow-up to a direct mail campaign recently, and that's a bit of a weird one. So if I said it's a sales call, you can hang up or let me have 30 seconds, they're probably going to go, well, no, like I'm not interested. But we already know that we should be having this conversation with them because we've sent something in the post. So the campaign that we did is we sent a pug, which is related to the company that we're working for. So I'd say, go on, Zac, you pick up the phone.
Hello, Zac speaking.
Hello, Zac. A bit of a weird one. I don't know if you're going to be able to help me today. I sent you a pug in the post.
Sorry?
I sent you a pug in the post, like the dog.
A pug in the post?
Yeah, not a real one. It was part of a direct mail campaign. You're on a list of companies my boss has always wanted to work with, but you're probably going to tell me you're already working with a company like this and you're probably doing it all in-house and everything's running perfectly at the moment.
Okay, yeah, I think Sharon did mention something about a pug coming. That makes sense. Okay, what is it that you do, sorry?
And then you're in. So there's points where you can start using like the Trojan horse tactic, and that's you can get really clever with it, especially if it's going account based. So there's like certain people that I can only work with these 10 clients. Well, you might go to them and say, bit of a weird one. I'm doing a bit of a survey today. I'm trying to find out. We're working on a product at the moment. I'm guessing if I told you we were working on building something that solved these 3 problems, I've got a feeling you're probably going to say these don't even exist in X industry. No, they do exist. Of course they exist. Are you mad? Okay, can you give me an example? Blah, blah, blah. Take all that information away. A few weeks later, you can call back. Hello, blah, blah, blah. We spoke a few weeks ago. You were telling me about these problems and this. Is that still the case? We've developed something now. Is it worth sitting down and exploring that? So that's kind of like reverse engineering it. That's what they call the Trojan horse, which can have some success as well.
Interesting. I've not heard that. When you said Trojan horse, I thought it was going to be full frontal attack.
You were thinking about the condoms, weren't you, Jamie?
I don't know how to answer that one. Yeah, I was expecting full frontal attack, as in no tactic and no reverse engineering involved. But yeah, that's an interesting one.
What are you talking about now? The campaign or?
Full frontal.
It's all right. You got to be an adult to be on LinkedIn. It's fine.
Yeah, I tell you, this is either going to have a lot of people not listening to the podcast ever again, or we're going to have followers for life. It's going to go one or two ways. I don't think this is it's a Marmite episode. This isn't it.
We're divisive.
Yeah, you don't want to be loved by everyone, Jamie.
Could that be a good call opener? Like, what's your thoughts on Marmite?
We use things like that as weird little curveballs when things perhaps aren't going well. Like I posted one on LinkedIn about a guy I wasn't really paying attention at the start. He seemed indifferent. And I just said swans. And he went, what? And swans, they're weird, aren't they? Like, they look so majestic, but then when you get close, they start like hissing at you and just being dickheads. And he was like, yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, and I went, anyway, have a think about it. I'll ring you back. And I just hung up. And then I called him back about a week later and said, hey, it's me again. Have you thought about them swans? And he started laughing. And he said, what is it that you're trying to ring me for? And then he was listening, and then he gave me the attention. So even though you're saying, like, could you use that as an intro, the Marmite thing, we always try and throw in weird stuff. When people aren't paying attention, even on discovery calls, like Jack's been in ones with me and we'll challenge each other sometimes with, this guy's not paying attention. I go, anyway, Jamie, anyway, how tall are you? And the look of like, what? That was total curveball. Or when people have all those books in the background, how many of them books have you read? And be honest. Just like throw it in different pattern interrupts throughout. But you've had some good ones, Jack, as well, haven't you?
I was trying to think of one there. You got there with some of the ones that some of my favourites. How tall are you?
What about that guy that was waiting your time? And you asked him where his accent was from.
He came to a call and said, I don't know why I'm here. I don't think you can actually help me. I'm looking to just solve this very specific problem. I was like, you don't need a lead gen company. You need a virtual assistant. You just need to go on Google and you'll solve that. ChatGPT could probably do this. He was like, yeah, all right. Oh, that was a quick call. I went, hey, before you go, where's the accent from? He went, well, actually, I was born in London. I went, right, nice one. Got to go. I just jumped off the call. He must have been like, you asked me a question and then you just went. It's bizarre. But yeah, like to play around with it. You've got to play around with it and throw weird things in there to keep you sane. And an opener and a pattern interrupt are different. An opener obviously opens it up, but pattern interrupt can be used at any stage in the conversation to kind of interrupt the normal thinking pattern. If somebody's going off on a tangent about budget or whatever it is, just saying something simple like, how many of those books have you read? Or have you got Oliver Twist in that bookshelf? It's going to get them thinking.
It's interesting because I hadn't thought about the almost like the first call being fishing, and then you go back a week later having, laid out the bait ready for them to sort of bite on it. I hadn't actually thought about that as I mean, if anyone hasn't guessed already, I don't work in sales, I work in marketing. So, perhaps that is a very common tactic, but I hadn't thought about that. So that's an interesting one, actually knowingly backing out of a call to ring a week later, knowing that you're going to have success the second time around. That's an interesting one. On the topic of height, I did see a picture of you two on LinkedIn with hands in each other's pockets. And how tall are you?
I'm 6'2",
and I'm 6'3".
Yeah, I was going.
Be a break.
In the picture, you look about 5'8", but
different. There's a beauty. Perspective is a beautiful thing, Jamie, and I'll explain it to you after the podcast. But Zac was very close to the camera. That's the way it worked, and I was very far away. In fact, it looked like Zac was in my pocket. I think that was what we were trying to reach. 5'10.5", actually.
Okay, all right. Well, there's the honest answer. Okay, I was going to say you were very far away, but still managed to reach his pocket, which is. According to physics, that's quite difficult. All right, oh, there you go. Well, okay. So I think that we got one more. We've already covered staffing, I think, or staffing or recruiting, unless you've got a different unconventional opener for that market. But the other one we've got on the list is the dreaded "Hi, how are you?" Like, I guess diverting away from that, or overcoming that as a probably one of the most common openings.
Yeah, I think just before we touch on hi, how are you? Because I can get really passionate on this, so I just need to make sure I'm braced for it. But when you were saying there about using the first call as a bit of armor, what do you think is a go-to objection in the early? Like you give an opener. What's a very early objection that gets thrown around a lot? What would you say, Jamie?
I don't have time right now.
Don't have time. Keep going.
Right, we could be here all day. Zac, I think you should just answer this one on my behalf, because we literally could be here for another 20 minutes.
I don't take sales calls.
Don't have sales calls. Yeah, that could be one. You could also have send me an email.
Right.
So
okay.
you send me an email, okay? You don't know what it's about. You don't know if you have the problem. You don't know who I am. But do you care who I am? It doesn't matter, actually. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But send me an email. So what we see is really, if someone says send me an email, they're being kind of there. Okay, well, is it worth running through in 30 seconds? And if it's not relevant, we can leave it. No, send me an email. You call back the following week. Jamie, we spoke last week. You told me to send you an email. Just wanted to jump in. You said to give you a call back and run through it, blah, 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 whatever. Like using that as intel, the chances are you don't even need to send an email. People aren't waiting for it. When you get off that call, they're just like, oh, right, okay. But they're probably more open to having a conversation based on the fact that there was something to start with. That you've gone away, you've done something.
Would you, or have you tried hiding something in the email and then referring to it to see if they've read the email?
Like an Easter egg?
But yeah, I guess you could do an Easter egg, but I was watching a film, and in the film it was an NFL film called Draft Day, and they sent out contracts to prospective players that they wanted to sign, and then when they rang them 2 weeks later to see if they had read the playbook, they actually hid $100 note on the last page, and they asked them. They said, did you find the $100 note on the last page? And there was only two responses that they get, which was, oh, yeah, I found the $100. Or they'd start the call saying, oh, thanks for the $100. Or they would just own up and say, oh, no, I'll be honest, I didn't actually get to the end, and I didn't know there was a $100 thing there. So that it just reminded me, like, I don't know, do you hide something about swans?
Maybe. Well, there's many ways of doing it. Typically, you might not even need to send an email. So that's like the first part, because people will say, oh, right, okay, yeah, well, I get a lot of emails. What was it about? But similar kind of fashion, I believe people used to do that when it comes to riders. You hear the story about blue M&Ms on like a rider, or blue Smarties. The reason for that is you'd put that in small print to really check. If they went to that much detail to do it, then you know that they read the rider, because the rider is not just how many bottles of champagne you're going to get. It's also, is everything safe? Is the stage set up the right way? So I think that was the logic behind it. Hi, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks.
Good. Should we break that down? Do you want to jump in on it, or do you want me to run?
You run. This is your.
Is this your baby? Is it?
It isn't it?
I want to call it my baby. Right, it works. Let me start by saying that if I call someone up and say, "Hi Zach, it's Jack here calling from We Have a Meeting. How are you today?" It's gonna work, okay? But if we start to get into the psychology of it, people don't know who you are and they don't care who you are. If you're not Google, the only time I'd start saying who you're calling from is if it's actually gonna help. If you're Salesforce, you might, Jamie, Jack here from Salesforce, and then you might lead into something, whatever. You'd probably use it as a bit of an opener to say, we already know each other. Richie Rich from down the road told me to give you a call. We're Salesforce. Come on, you know us. So that's it. If you're saying, hi, it's Jack calling from We Have a Meeting, as much as, yeah, we are quite big on LinkedIn. I felt like a twat saying that. As much as like people might know your company, the chances are they're not going to know your company. And even if somebody does know your company, they're not going to care. So saying your name and what company you're calling from is just like, get rid. So Jamie, I want you to imagine it's a cold call. You're going to introduce yourself, the company, and then you're going to ask me how you are.
So you want me to do okay.
The bad opener.
Right, go on then.
Hello, Jack speaking.
Hi, Jack. It's Jamie. I'm calling from Celigence. How are you today?
Awful. I've just had to have my rabbit put down because it got caught in a lawnmower.
What breed was the rabbit?
What lawnmower was it?
Yeah.
If that's your
I've got a rabbit problem. What lawnmower was it?
If that's your go-to response, doesn't show much empathy, but it's better than most people. Most people would go like this, go, well, I'm calling to talk to you about photocopiers today. Have you got a photocopier that's a state-of-the-art, blah, blah, whatever? You don't care. What you're doing is that British response. How are you? Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you? Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Let's talk about the weather. Boring. Did you watch the football? And then talk about you for so long. It's skipping that awkward little bit. I'm not saying don't ask people how they are when it gets to the point of like, it's my fourth call with somebody. When I ring Zach, I ask him how he is because I know him and I like him and I care about him. When you're calling a total stranger, you don't care about them, and that's okay. You're ringing them to try and sell them something. It's not saying that you don't want to help them, but you don't care how they are at that point. You don't know them. Quite emotional, sorry.
Yeah, I especially like the bit where you said that you care for Zach.
He does
That
it
bit was
in a
true.
lot of ways. In a lot of ways.
He doesn't seem too fussed by it though, to be honest.
I've got no legs, so he actually meant he's my carer. These aren't my legs, I borrowed them.
Well, we
For the
can't see them
podcast.
anyway, so yeah.
You don't want to see them. It's disgusting.
Are they actually your clothes in the background?
Are they my clothes in the back? What those? How far,
Yeah, well, they're about the right size if you don't have any legs, right?
how far
They're
away
quite
do you think
long
they are?
in
Just at me.
perspective. Right.
Right, yeah. I was half expecting Zach to say, "Okay, that was Jack's. Now here's my how."
Oh,
my...
hi, how are you? I'm with Jack. I don't think it works. I don't think people care about the response they're getting, and I don't think people are prepared to deal with someone saying anything other than "not bad." Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah,
They go, actually, yeah, terrible.
I guess you guys you've heard of Lavender, right?
It's an email AI software.
Yeah. They say something very, very similar with the "Hi, how are you?" It basically has like the worst open rate or something, or worst response rates, because the first line you see in the like snippet is "How are you?" And they basically just said exactly the same thing you guys have said. Like, you don't know this person. It's an immediate turn off if you get an email like that, and you're probably going to get another 60 that say the same thing. So, yeah.
Do you know what Lavender said was the highest open rate for a question?
Not a question. No, I was going to say they said hello is the best. Like, instead of hey, hello works best. But
It's similar to hi, how are you? But it has the best open rate. It says, how high are you?
is it? Because you followed that up with a laugh. I don't know if that's genuinely true or just.
It's not. It's not. I'm sorry, Jamie.
How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Oh, that's stupid.
Yeah, I hate it, and people do it all the time. And it's just, but I did some sales training with a group the other day, and I said, "Do you all say it? Yeah. Do you like saying it? No. Do you feel uncomfortable saying it? Yeah. Why do you still say it? Because it's all we know. It's just like insanity, which is the Daily Stoic for tomorrow. I've already read it, but insanity is the definition is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So if you keep asking people how high they are, if you keep asking people how they are and they go, yeah, I'm all right, what's it about? Get rid of it. If you can really make it work and people say, yeah, I'm amazing actually, because the flowers in the garden have just whatever. If it works, keep it. If it's not working, ditch it with everything in cold calling.
Okay, so that actually leads quite nicely into the next question I was going to ask you, is if that's one of your most hated, for each of you, what is your favourite call opening of all time?
For me, it is this is a cold call. Do you want to hang up or let me have 30 seconds? That is by far the most effective opener in this country.
I agree. Seconded. I agree.
No, you have to.
What would be your second favourite then?
Well, like we both have our different variations of it, don't we? So it's like I really like to get in that. Do you want to slam your phone against your forehead and jump up and down on it? Do you want to swallow a football and kick yourself in the stomach, or let me have 30 seconds? Play around with it, but something like that, something ridiculous.
There's also like, Jamie, I was actually ringing to try and sell you something, would you believe? But just as the call was down, I've just spotted something that means it's probably not even going to be relevant for you. And sometimes, it doesn't always work, but sometimes people go, well, hold on, what's it about? Because they don't like you taking things away from them. There's all sorts of weirdness to it, but the formula is the same.
Do you guys track in terms of literally like the list of openings and the success rate of all the openings?
Yeah, we typically at the start of a campaign with a new client, A/B test them with a few different approaches.
And the one you guys listed there is still numero uno.
Yeah, because our sweet spot for the appointment setting side of the business is C-suite. So that is, they're busy people. They're quite risk averse. They're used to being led a merry dance, and then realizing 2 minutes in, this is actually a sales call, isn't it? Like that's why it works best. Now, if I was targeting marketing executives or marketing managers or something, maybe it wouldn't be the best one to use, and they might want something more personable. But just because of the people we typically target, that works the best.
No, unfortunately, my next question has been ruined because it was going to be call opening that's worked best this year, but I think we've already answered that one. Whilst it being your favourite, is also the one that works best.
Yeah,
depends on the campaign, doesn't it? I think
it does depend. There are ones where we don't use it at all.
What about, let's say, for SaaS? If you're looking to speak with directors and C-suite in SaaS, would it still be the same one?
What's the solution?
Let's call it contact data.
Yeah, you could go like Jamie. I'll be honest, it's a sales call. If I told you I was calling about X, Y, and Z, with a little piece of you die inside.
Did you say it's about data?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's different then, isn't it? Because then you'd say, Jack, I'll be honest, this is a sales call. I bet you're wondering how I got your number. It's about data.
Yeah. How did you?
Yeah. Well, actually, and then you go into selling your lead generation service. And we're the only people that have been able to get hold of your data. You're down as the most handsome man in Swansea. Actually, no, you're number 2. Oh, sorry, you've just been beaten. Gareth Jones just took you over.
It was either going to be Gareth or Gavin, wasn't it? One of the two.
And it's definitely Jones either way.
Well, look, guys, it's been fun, emotional, stressful. It's been a journey. Let's put it that way. But I appreciate you guys coming on. A couple of the SDRs will be very happy that we've managed to get you on for a chat.
Are you happy though, Jamie?
I'll rewatch and I'll let you know.
Jamie, before we go, can I ask you a weird question?
Do it.
If you didn't work in marketing, what would you be doing?
The military.
Wow. Must be true. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next week.
I feel like we should. Should I end it there, or shall I do a proper ending?
You do a proper ending. Don't let this schmuck take over.
Catch us in the next episode.